Do you remember that moment when a massive truck rolled past you on the highway and everything else seemed to disappear for a second? The ground felt like it shook. The sound stayed with you. Back in the 1980s, American trucks weren't just machines built to haul heavy loads. They were symbols of strength, freedom, and pride. They represented hard work and big dreams. And if you grew up in that era, you didn't just see these trucks, you felt them. Today, we're going back to that unforgettable decade to relive the 10 American trucks that completely took the 80s by storm. Some of these machines changed the industry forever. Others became legends simply because nothing else looked or sounded like them. Stick with me because by the end of this ride, you'll understand why the 1980s are still considered the golden age of American trucking. Picture the early 80s. America was moving fast. Highways were expanding. Industries were booming, and everything needed to be hauled across long stretches of road. This was the moment when trucks stopped being just tools and started becoming icons. One of the most underrated legends of that era was the Diamond Rio. This truck didn't scream for attention. It didn't rely on flashy looks. Instead, it earned respect the hard way. Built from the legacy of Diamond T and Rio, the Diamond Rio of the 1980s was all about durability. Under the hood, you'd often find a Detroit diesel inline-six engine, pushing steady power that drivers trusted mile after mile. It wasn't built to race. It was built to survive. And that deep, metallic engine sound became familiar music on rural highways and construction routes. Drivers loved the Diamond Rio because it was honest. It didn't pretend to be something it wasn't. The long-nosed design followed classic American styling, and the cab felt solid, almost industrial. These trucks worked in construction, agriculture, and regional freight. They handled rough roads and heavy loads without complaining. And here's the amazing part. Even today, some of these Diamond Rios are still running. You'll find them at farm fairs, local shows, and working fields, still proving that simple. Well-built machines can outlast trends. But as tough as the Diamond Rio was, the next truck on this list took toughness to another level entirely. Now, imagine a truck that looked like it could survive a war zone. That was the Autocar DC-100, built by Autocar, one of America's oldest truck manufacturers. This machine was designed for the harshest environments you could imagine: mines, quarries, forests, construction sites where failure wasn't an option. Under the hood, many DC-100s carried massive Cummins engines delivering brutal torque. You didn't drive this truck fast. You drove it with authority. Gear changes were heavy. Steering demanded respect. But once you mastered it, the DC-100 felt unstoppable. The design was boxy and aggressive. Thick bumpers, round headlights, a cab that felt more like a bunker than a comfort zone. And when that Cummins engine growled, everyone nearby knew serious work was happening. These trucks earned a reputation for surviving conditions that destroyed other rigs. There are stories of DC-100s being used in emergency rescue missions during extreme winter storms in the 1980s, pushing through snow when nothing else could move. Today, restored Autocar DC-100s are treasured by collectors who know exactly what kind of beast they're looking at. And if you think that was rugged, wait until you see what came next. The International Loadstar was everywhere in the 1980s. You might not have noticed it at the time, because it blended into everyday life so perfectly. But that's exactly what made it special. Built by International Harvester, the Loadstar became the backbone of small towns and cities across America. School buses, utility trucks, garbage trucks, farm vehicles. If something needed to be done locally, chances are a Loadstar was involved. Powered by dependable gasoline V8 engines, it delivered smooth, predictable power that made it ideal for stop-and-go work. The Loadstar didn't need to look aggressive. Its straight lines and compact design made it practical and approachable. Drivers appreciated how easy it was to handle compared to larger rigs. And here's something most people don't realize. Some Loadstars were converted into early food trucks during the 1980s, long before food trucks became trendy. That adaptability is why so many survived for decades. The Loadstar didn't try to dominate highways. It dominated daily life. But the next truck on our list was built for the open road, and it changed how long-haul trucking felt forever. When the International TransStar 4100 series hit the highways, drivers immediately felt the difference. This truck represented a shift toward comfort without sacrificing power. Long-haul drivers were spending days and weeks on the road, and International understood that fatigue was real. Under the hood, the legendary Detroit diesel 8V92V8 delivered serious horsepower and torque. This engine was loud, raw, and unforgettable. You didn't sneak up on anyone in a TransStar. You announced yourself. The cab was roomier than earlier designs. Sleeper configurations gave drivers a real place to rest. The ride felt smoother, especially with improved suspension systems. And visually, the TransStar looked confident. Squared off lines, strong stance, a face that meant business. These trucks hauled everything from agricultural goods to event equipment. In fact, some TransStars were used to transport stage gear for massive concerts during the 1980s, including iconic events like Live Aid. They weren't just hauling freight, they were hauling history. And just when you think trucking couldn't get more stylish, the next machine proves otherwise. The Western Star 4900 wasn't just a truck. It was a personality. Built for owner-operators who wanted to stand out, this rig combined brute strength with custom style. Under the hood, Cummins big cam engines delivered massive torque that made hills feel flat. But what really set the 4900 apart was how it looked. Long nose, chrome grille, polished fuel tanks, twin vertical exhaust stacks rising like towers behind the cab. This was a truck you noticed instantly. Inside, drivers found surprising comfort, wide seats, clear analog gauges, even wood-grain dash panels on some models. This was a working truck, but it didn't feel cheap. Owners took pride in their Western Stars, often customizing them with paint jobs, chrome packages, and interior upgrades. You didn't just drive a 4900, you showed it off. And if you're enjoying this ride through America's trucking past, now's a great time to like the video, subscribe, and stay with us, because we're only halfway through and the legends just keep getting bigger. As the 1980s rolled on, American highways started to feel different. Trucks were getting bigger, bolder, and more confident. And few rigs captured attention quite like the Ford LTL 9000. This truck wasn't subtle. It didn't blend in, it dominated the road. Ford designed the LTL 9000 as the premium powerhouse of its Louisville line, and it showed in every detail. The long hood stretched out in front like it meant business, and the massive chrome grille reflected sunlight from miles away. When one of these trucks appeared in your mirror, you knew exactly what it was. Under the hood, the LTL 9000 carried serious muscle. Cummins and Caterpillar engines gave it the strength to pull massive loads across long distances without breaking a sweat. The power delivery was smooth but relentless. It wasn't about quick starts. It was about steady dominance, mile after mile. Drivers loved how planted it felt at highway speeds, especially with air suspension smoothing out rough pavement. Inside the cab, Ford focused on comfort more than ever before. The seats were supportive, the controls felt solid, and the sleeper cab gave drivers space to actually rest. For independent owner-operators, the LTL 9000 became a badge of pride. It said you had made it. And just when it felt like conventional long-nosed trucks were taking over completely, a very different design refused to fade away. Cabover trucks were supposed to be on their way out by the 1980s, but the white Freightliner Cabover proved everyone wrong. This truck became a square-bodied icon of the decade. Designed for tight spaces and strict length laws, the Cabover layout made perfect sense in cities, ports, and crowded shipping routes. But it wasn't just practical, it had attitude. The flat windshield, forward cab position, and compact footprint gave it a look that felt aggressive and futuristic at the same time. Power came from legendary Detroit diesel engines known for their sharp, raspy sound that echoed through tunnels and city streets. When one of these cabovers rolled by, the noise alone turned heads. Driving one wasn't easy. The manual transmissions demanded skill and patience, but drivers who mastered them loved the control and visibility. You sat right over the engine, feeling every vibration, every shift, every pull. These trucks became staples at ports and distribution hubs across the country. And something interesting happened in the 80s. Drivers started customizing them. Decals, lights, paint jobs. These cabovers became rolling expressions of personality long before truck shows became mainstream. And if you think that's iconic, the next Cabover took things to legendary status. The Kenworth K100 wasn't just a truck, it was a symbol. If you saw one on the road in the 1980s, you knew you were looking at something special. The double sleeper cab version, in particular, became a pop culture icon. This was the truck you saw in movies, commercials, and on television. It represented freedom, adventure, and life on the open road. Under the cab, powerful Cummins engines delivered the kind of torque that made full loads feel manageable, even on long climbs. Driving a K100 was an experience. The short wheelbase made it surprisingly nimble, especially in tight spaces. Inside, the sleeper cab felt like a small apartment compared to earlier designs. Drivers lived in these trucks. They ate in them, slept in them, watched storms roll in through the windshield. The engine noise filled the cab, reminding you that you were sitting on top of something powerful and alive. And here's a detail that matters. The K100 starred in one of the most famous trucking TV shows of all time, inspiring an entire generation to dream of hitting the road. Even today, restored K100s draw massive crowds wherever they appear. But while the K100 captured hearts, the next truck earned pure respect. The Peterbilt 359 is often spoken about in almost mythical terms, and for good reason. By the time the 1980s arrived, this truck had already built a reputation. But the decade cemented its legend. The long hood, rounded headlights, and endless chrome made it look timeless even back then. Under the hood, powerful Cummins engines delivered smooth, dependable performance that owner-operators trusted with their livelihoods. The 359 wasn't flashy for the sake of attention. It was refined, balanced. Everything felt deliberate. The ride was smoother than many competitors, and the cab felt like a place you could spend your life. Many drivers did exactly that. They kept their 359s for decades, maintaining them, restoring them, and refusing to let them go. The engine's sound was deep and confident, not loud for attention, but strong enough to command respect. And here's a piece of history that adds to the legend. A Peterbilt truck became the terrifying star of a famous suspense film, embedding the brand into American pop culture forever. That kind of impact doesn't fade. But as legendary as the 359 is, there was one truck that stood above them all. By the late 1980s, one name had become synonymous with American trucking excellence: Kenworth W900. This truck didn't just represent the era, it defined it. The W900 was everything drivers dreamed of. Power, comfort, style, presence. When one of these trucks rolled by, it felt larger than life. Under the hood, massive Cummins and Caterpillar engines delivered breathtaking torque and horsepower, making heavy loads feel almost effortless. The long nose stretched proudly ahead, framed by polished fuel tanks, chrome grills, and towering exhaust stacks. Inside, the cab felt more like a luxury space than a work vehicle. Plush seats, wood trim, custom lighting. Drivers didn't just work in W900s, they bonded with them. These trucks hauled high-value freight across the country, appearing at truck stops like royalty among machines. And here's the part that says everything. The design of the W900 became so iconic that it barely changed over decades. It's still in production today. That kind of longevity doesn't happen by accident. As we move toward the final part of this story, take a moment to think about what made these trucks special. It wasn't just horsepower or chrome. It was the feeling they gave you, the sense that you were part of something bigger. And in the final stretch, we'll tie everything together and uncover why the 1980s will never be matched again when it comes to American trucking history. The best insights are still ahead. By the time the late 1980s arrived, something powerful had happened in American trucking culture. These machines were no longer just tools of trade. They had become symbols. Kids recognized them. Drivers identified with them. And every day people felt something when they saw one Thunder passed on the highway. Trucks had personality now. Each brand had its own attitude, its own sound, its own loyal following. You could tell what kind of driver someone was just by the truck they chose. And that sense of identity is exactly why the trucks of the 80s still matter today. Think about how different things felt back then. There were no digital dashboards, no touchscreens, no driving assist doing the thinking for you. When you drove one of these rigs, it was just you, the machine, and the road. Every shift mattered. Every sound told you something. Drivers learned to listen to their engines like musicians listening to instruments. You didn't just operate these trucks. You formed a relationship with them. That connection is something modern trucks can't fully replicate, no matter how advanced they become. One of the reasons these trucks took the 80s by storm was their honesty. What you saw was what you got. Long hoods weren't there for style alone. They housed massive engines that needed space to breathe. Exhaust stacks weren't decorative. They roared because the engines demanded it. And those squared-off cabs weren't designed by computers chasing aerodynamics. They were shaped by function, strength, and practicality. Every bolt had a purpose. Every panel told a story. There's also something important about timing. The 1980s sat right between two worlds, the raw mechanical age and the coming era of electronics. That made these trucks the perfect balance. They were powerful and advanced for their time, but still simple enough to be understood, repaired, and respected by the people who drove them. When something broke, you fixed it with your hands, not a laptop. That built confidence, it built pride, and it built legends. Another reason these trucks became icons was the rise of trucking in pop culture. Movies, TV shows, music, and advertisements all leaned into the image of the American trucker as a modern cowboy. Free, independent, tough. Trucks like the Kenworth K100, Peterbilt 359, and Kenworth W900 weren't just background props. They were characters. They represented escape, adventure, and the open road. That image burned itself into the public imagination, and it never really left. Even the sounds of these trucks became part of their identity. The sharp bark of a Detroit diesel, the deep rumble of a Cummins under load, the way exhaust echoed off canyon walls or bounced between buildings in a city at night. You could recognize these trucks with your eyes closed. That sensory experience created emotional memories. And emotion is what turns machines into legends. Fast forward to today, and something interesting is happening. Younger generations who never experienced the 1980s firsthand are falling in love with these trucks. Restoration videos rack up millions of views. Old rigs pull crowds at truck shows. Social media is filled with clips of classic engines firing up after decades of silence. These machines are being rediscovered, not just as tools of the past, but as rolling pieces of history. Collectors and owner-operators are investing serious time and money into bringing these trucks back to life. Not because it's easy, not because it's cheap, but because it feels meaningful. Driving a restored 80s truck is like stepping into a time machine. You feel the weight of the wheel, the vibration of the cab, the power of something built to last, not just to come by. And here's the thing most people don't realize. Many of these trucks could still work today if they had to. They might not meet modern efficiency standards, but they can still pull, haul, and run with authority. That's a testament to how overbuilt they were. Manufacturers didn't design for planned obsolescence. They designed for survival, for reputation, for pride. This era also created a sense of brotherhood among drivers. Truck stops felt different. Conversations lasted longer. Stories were shared. Routes were remembered. A driver's truck wasn't just transportation, it was their identity. And when you saw another rig like yours rolling down the highway, there was an unspoken connection. A nod, a flash of headlights respect. As regulations tightened and technology advanced in the decades that followed, trucking became safer and more efficient. But something raw was lost along the way. The trucks got quieter. The experience got smoother. The machines got smarter, but the soul of those 1980s rigs remains unmatched. They remind us of a time when power was physical, freedom felt real, and the road was still a place of mystery. And now, as we approach the final part of this journey, there's one last question to consider. Out of all these machines that took the 80s by storm, why do they still capture our attention today? Why do they still make people stop, stare, and listen when they pass by? In the final part, we'll wrap it all together and leave you with one unforgettable truth about the golden age of American trucks. When you step back and look at the full picture, it becomes clear why the trucks of the 1980s still hold such a powerful grip on people today. They weren't just built to move freight. They were built to represent something bigger: strength, independence, reliability. In a decade defined by change, these trucks stood firm. They crossed deserts, climbed mountains, and rolled through cities day and night without asking for recognition. And yet they earned it anyway. Each of the trucks we talked about carried its own personality. Some were quiet workers that earned trust over time. Others were bold showstoppers that demanded attention the moment they appeared. But they all shared one thing in common. They were built with purpose. There was no excess technology trying to impress you. No artificial sounds or screens pretending to replace experience. What you saw, heard, and felt was real. That honesty is rare today, and maybe that's why it feels so special now. The 1980s marked a turning point where trucking culture reached its peak balance. Power met practicality. Comfort met toughness. Style met substance. Drivers had enough amenities to survive long hauls, but still needed skill, awareness, and respect for the machine. You didn't just get in and go. You earned every mile, and that effort created pride. Real pride. These trucks also helped shape the image of America itself. They were there during major infrastructure expansions. They supported industries that kept the country moving. They delivered goods that filled shelves, fueled cities, and connected communities. Behind every truck was a driver, and behind every driver was a story. Long nights, empty highways, rain on the windshield, sunrise after hours of driving. These trucks weren't just witnesses to those moments. They were part of them. What makes this era even more remarkable is that so many of these machines are still remembered with respect rather than nostalgia alone. Nostalgia fades when something doesn't hold up, but these trucks do. They still start conversations, they still turn heads, they still command admiration from people who understand what it took to build. Something that's strong in a time without digital shortcuts. Even now, when one of these rigs pulls into a modern truck stop, it creates a pause. People stop walking. Phones come out. Conversations begin. That reaction says everything. These trucks carry stories in their steel. They represent a time when craftsmanship mattered more than convenience and when reliability was earned through over-engineering rather than software updates. And maybe the biggest reason these trucks took the 1980s by storm is simple. They made people feel something: excitement, respect, inspiration. Whether you were a driver behind the wheel, a kid watching from the roadside, or someone passing by on the highway, these trucks left an impression. They weren't invisible. They demanded to be noticed. So now it's your turn. Which of these legendary machines surprised you the most? Which one brings back memories you didn't expect to feel again? And if you could own just one of them today, which truck would you choose and why? Let me know in the comments, because those stories matter just as much as the machines themselves. If you enjoyed this ride through the golden age of American trucking, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. It helps the channel grow and lets YouTube know this is content worth sharing with people who love real machines and real stories. We've got more legends, more history, and more unforgettable rides coming your way. Because the truth is, these trucks weren't just built to last. They were built to be remembered. And as long as people still stop to listen when an old engine fires up, the spirit of the 1980s will never truly fade.